Welcome to online classes. Today we'll start with chapter 9, Desktop Publishing. In this chapter we'll study about what is desktop publishing, what are various printing methods, what are fonts, what is scaling, tracking and leading, what are frames and what is page layout, what you see is what you get. What are the various advantages of DTP software over word processing software? And what is document planning? Desktop publishing. An application of computer that enables small companies or an individual to produce reports. That is to print reports. There are two types of desktop publishing or publishing, as we can say: desktop online publishing and physical printouts. We can publish anything on computer like visiting cards, calendars, advertisements, magazines, etc. Modern systems which stimulate many of the professional typesetting functions consist of personal computer using DTP software. Now when it comes down to publishing, publishing means anything that is printed out, such as your books, your newspapers, everything that is printed. It means it's been published by someone or it's been printed by someone. In that context, we can publishing anything online. You're printing or you're setting a web page, you're putting information on a website, that is online publishing. But if you're publishing or printing documents, that is offline publishing. Means that you need a physical structure of that page and a specific setting. The software is designed to format text into pages using a wide range of different typefaces. We call them fonts. A common feature is the ability to preview each page on a computer's screen before it is printed. So these softwares or these applications let user to preview, means they show the exact size and exact setting of the page before printing them out. The term desktop publishing is commonly used to describe all the page layout skills. It means that whatever setting or skill styles that you have chosen, it's commonly referred as desktop publishing. Desktop publishing began in 1985 with introduction of Mac Publisher. When Mac Publisher came in, the very first publishing app software or app was Mac Publisher. It was the first software that used what you see is what you get layout program. It was the first program in that time that showed the user what is going to be printed and how the print is going to be. The point noted: before the invention of desktop publishing softwares, everyone was printing, but only the professionals, only people who knew to printing machines. They used to print graphics. If suppose you want to print a newsletter or a brochure, people at those time printed out pictures first or text first, and then in the second term they printed on the same paper text or picture, likewise whatever they printed first and second, suppose picture first and text afterwards, and they made copies of that. But with the invent of these softwares, every individual can print according to their own needs. Now desktop publishing softwares became more and more powerful and gives you more control over text and graphics, both of them. Desktop publishing is generally a three type. First, page layout, editing or illustration, means it depends on the page layout settings and what type of editing you are putting them into. Example of page layout, Adobe PageMaker. Editing softwares, graphic editing softwares, means editing of pictures, movies, etc. Or Adobe Photoshop, Corel Photo Paint, etc. And illustration, designing of specific characters, specific styles are used through Corel Draw and MS Publisher software. Likewise, to prepare a document, our first step is to decide what type of document is going to be prepared. So the first step, the very first step, if you want to print or publish a document, is decide what kind of software you are going to use, and the most important part, what type of document we want to print. If we want to print a wedding card, we need a different shape and size. We need to decide the shape and size of the app that we are going to use, or inside the settings of that app, or font cover, brochure, business cards. So if you need to print a cover of the book, you need to specify the size of that page that you are designing and the contents of it. If you know the previous step, you can make your document using any desktop publishing software. Now it comes down to printing documents. All the publishing software or desktop publishing comes to an end with printing. It starts with page layout, setting of the page, and it finishes with printout of the document. Printing is very essential part of desktop software. We can print the document in many ways and many forms. Printing is the process of reproducing text, images as well as graphics, typically with ink on paper in printing press. So most of the cases, printing press is used to print out these kind of things. It can be through a laser printer or an inkjet printer. It may be large scale industrial process or any single user printer at home. Printing methods, it's also called lithography, offset printing. Ink sit on the surface of paper. In offset printing, ink is made to sit on the surface of the paper. Today all modern printing is offset. Most of the offset, major printing is used and offset. Most short-run jobs are now being done digitally. Offset printing is better and cheaper for business use as compared to personal use, because the more it is, the more cheaper it will be. Laser printing is a common type of printer that produces high quality text and graphic. Means if you want high quality printing job, we use laser prints. Details of pictures, details of text and designs, we use laser printers or photocopiers. For printing a document, a laser beam draws the document. The beam on the document is beamed onto selenium coated drum using electrical charges. After the drum charges, it is rolled. Color laser printer is up to 10 times more expensive than a black and white printer. So that is why color laser printers are less used, randomly or very rarely used, because they are 10 times more expensive than black and white printers, but they are more sharper. Their quality is very good. The fastest black and white model can print over 200 pages per minute, and the fastest color laser printer can print over 100 pages per minute. The standard resolution of laser printer is 600 dots per inches or DPIs. That is how we see the clarity of the picture or a graphic to be printed. Per inch dots. More they are, the more clearer it will be. It also depends upon graphics to be printed. Fonts. Now what are fonts? A font is the combination of typeface and other qualities such as size, point width. Most commonly used font in every word processor is Arial. A simple word. A font is a combination of all characters, including all special characters such as commas, semicolon, hyphen, etc. Font family is the collection of all variations. For example, Arial, Arial Bold, Arial Narrow are all a part of font families. The height of font is measured in points. Low point means small characters, high point means large characters. If we check them out in simple word, let's just say we type school. Now this is by choice. Which one do you want to choose? Let's say Arial, and we can give them points. The smaller the points, small font, and bigger them will be here. We can choose any type of font face. Look at the screen very carefully. They have specific designs, they have specific styles, and they have specific type of information in them. All capital by default. So these are the styles which can be oftenly used. Scaling, tracking and leading. Adjusting font in a document. So we know what fonts are. They have different styles of their own. But how can we edit them without changing their points and size? There are a number of ways for adjusting text in a document. This term refers to that. Without changing the points of any font, we can increase its width or can decrease its width. The term is known as scaling. So, increase or decrease of width of a font without changing its points or style. It's called scaling. Tracking. Tracking simply means to increase or decrease the character space. So the space between two characters or two words, we can say. Like in here, the example. In this example, we can increase the space between any character. Between these R and A or M and Y. More you give, the more space it will be. That is called tracking. Leading. Leading means simply increasing the points between or the spaces between two lines. It can also measure in points or depends upon desktop publishing software. Look at the original text here, and after leading we can increase our required space between two lines. Frames. Frame is an information that is encapsulated or enclosed in specific lines. For example, you have a page or a photo frame at home, and within that frame you have two pictures and they are both enclosed within frames. So the basic purpose of a frame is to enclose information or same type of information. In a word processing software, we can process same type of information in one box or framed, or it is called framed information. Like list of districts in one frame, major cities of India in one frame, but they are both enclosed in bigger frame. In each frame, each object is individual entity. They use every frame. You must know the purpose of every frame, box or a border that you are using. Frames for a barrier. Frames are used to draw attention to key points or useful tips. It indicates the information is more important than others. So why do we put frames? We want to show that this information is more important than the text or the graphic written elsewhere. Page layout. Page layout is a task of placing and arranging all objects. All object means text that you have written and the pictures or the graphics that you have added. So the basic style of the page that you are designing, where the text should be, where the graphic should be, all comes down to page layout, your own style, your own creativity. If you are designing a brochure or a poster, you want to put picture on the right side of the corner and you want to put text somewhere else, that is again your own creativity. That comes down to page layout. A page or a document layout can be designed on a rough paper with a pencil, pen or a sketch. You are buying a blank sheet or blank chart. What is the first thing that you do? You put a margin and then afterwards you start designing pens and pages with markings on it. This is where I'm going to write text. This is where I'm going to add text and etc. It all comes down to graphical user interface. Page layout refers to actual composition of the page. Page layout also includes occasionally placeholders like grids, lines, boxes that are not printed in the ink. What you see is what you get. This word used in computing is described a system in which electronic page is displayed in the very similar manner to the final output. In other words, we can just say that whatever you are looking for a printing on a paper, it will be displayed on the screen as the same way. In desktop publishing softwares or text editing softwares that we use in computing, they automatically display that information according to the page layout that the user has chosen. Most modern desktop softwares are doing a great job of optimizing the screen display. It means that they optimize the screen display according to the print that is needed. For example, MS Word is optimized for output to typical colored laser printer. It is automatically optimized for that. But in some situation, what you see is what you get is not important, because additional information is used in composition made. So the composition that is made additionally to the page, like special characters that are not going to be printed, or they were specifically for the user who designed the things. They are not going to be printed. Just remember that. Second, in layout made, we often use grids. or grid lines. Again, they are for users to be used to tackle the graphic settings or the layout. They are not going to be printed. Advantages of DTP over word processor. Now this is important. Why do we use desktop softwares, desktop publishing softwares over word processing softwares when it comes down to graphics? Let us take an example of Microsoft Word. It is a simple text editing software, most commonly used for text editing or making your text more visually presentable. But in a desktop publishing software such as MS Publisher, if we want to improve or visually enhance our graphics, we use the different style of graphics that we need to use and the editing that we need to use in a specific graphics such as pictures and special characters or designs. We need to have special software. Microsoft Word will give you graphic editing options, but not perfectly. With desktop publishing softwares, they have more options to edit graphics and text as well, but they are mainly focused on graphics. In other words, text editing or word processing softwares are basically used for text, and desktop publishing softwares are basically used for pictures and graphics. That is the difference. Now it comes down to document planning. A user wants to print out instructions on a specific information. This is where document planning comes in. For example, a newspaper will have both pictures and text. Our browsers will have more graphics, more pictures than text. It comes down to planning what we want to print, all the information that we want to put into the document, and designing of that page. Page layout. After we have assembled your written text, you have texted everything, you have typed everything, graphicals or special type of symbols you have used. Now you want to set things up. Layout is the process by which all the elements are laid on the page orderly or in a sequence. Subject matter should be highlighted. Whatever you want to print, whatever the heading of your page is, it should be highlighted. Style. In desktop publishing software, you will be able to choose the best of several types of fonts. Graphic design styles, its color and some type of filters and effects may also be applied to layout elements. Whatever font you decide, use this font in all the documents. Matter should be impressed in a stylish way. It may be digested, understood, and be memorable. So this is where user creativity comes in. The more creative the designer is, the more best or impressive style it is going to be applied. Applying a style in a document is a way to automate the formatting. Without using a style, you would have to highlight each paragraph. So until and unless you are not addressing the style, every page or on every line you have to edit the style manually. Otherwise, if you have applied style settings, everything will be automatically handled. Margins. Now what are different margins? Look at this image. You're buying a blank sheet or you have a blank sheet. What is the first thing we do? We apply margins. We apply margins all around. Left margin, right margin, top margin, bottom margin. And it can be points. How much top space we need to, and what is the point of bottom margin and left and right margin of the page. And it again comes to header and footer. Have you seen number of pages or 1, 2, 3 on top, or chapter number on bottom or on the footer? That is where header and footer comes in. In a Microsoft Word, by default, margins are normally 1 inch on all sides. Header is the text which is printed at the top of each page. It may be page number, chapter name, or special information. Or it can be aligned left, center, or right. Same as footer. All the information that can be written on the bottom, right, center, or left. Font. It is the most important part of the document design. Generally, readers like Arial, Times New Roman font because they are easy to read and format in the textbooks. There are basic needs of document planning, but the other points are page size, number of pages, columns, title and subtitle captions. So the most important things that we need to remember are what type of pages we are planning, number of pages that are going to be printed, columns, titles, etc. So points to be remembered: that desktop publishing software are used to create reports, visiting cards, calendars, advertisement, magazines, etc. To prepare a document, our first step is to decide what type of document is going to be prepared. Always remember, printing is the process of reproducing text, images as well graphics. Laser printing and offset printing are the most printing methods, or the most type of printing methods that are used today. Font is a combination of typeface and other qualities such as size, point and width. Leading means line space between two or more lines. Page layout is the task of placing and arranging all objects in your page, within your page. It can be text, it can be graphics, or it can be any shape. What you see is what you get. If you need more powerful layout control for making brochures, newsletter, magazines or business cards, we can use desktop publishing softwares over word processors. Margins are the distance between text from the left, right edges or from the edges of the pages that we have enclosed within. Those are called margins. With these points, our desktop publishing chapter is finished. Please read it carefully and understand the basic points of designing. Your understanding of designing is very important. Thank you.